So thank you everybody for coming, and all of course, the Spinifex authors for coming. Thinking of the beginnings of a press and the reasons for a press, the historical, literary, political contexts for a press. But maybe I shut up because already I'm be tempting into it. But one tiny little anecdote, talking to Doc Porter many years ago, and so sad, of course, but always with us as the dead are. I said, is it possible, Dorothy, I have this memory, and I'm sure I've written it into something. In fact, I think I'm writing something, and I've written into the thing that I'm writing that I'm at Bob Adamson's place in Sydney with Nigel Roberts and one or two other dudes, and you turn up on a motorbike with a leather jacket and the whole lot. She said, "Oh, I wish," she said. She said, "No, but Susan did turn up with a leather jacket on a motorbike."
Yes. Without terminals. Driving to Katoomba. Today, you span the far mountains with an arm and say, "This I offer you, all this blue sweat of eucalypt." Then you teach me how to startle kookaburras in my throat and point out Orion among the glowworms. I too can love you in my dialect, you know, punctuated with cikhadas and their eternal afternoons. Mahal kita, mahal kita. I can even save you monsoons, pomelo-scented bucketfuls to wash your hair with, and for want of pearls, I can string you the whitest seeds of green papayas. Then hope that, wrist to wrist, we might believe again the single rhythm passing between pulses. Even when pearls become the glazed white eyes of a Bosnian child caught in the crossfire, or when monsoons cannot wash the trigger finger clean in East Timor, and when Tibetans wrap their dialect around them like a robe, lest Orion grazes them from a muzzle. Yes, even when among the Sinhalese, the birds mistake the throat for a tomb, as gun smoke lifts from the Tamil mountains, my tongue will still unpetrified to say, "Mahal kita, mahal kita." And in Filipino, mahal kita means I love you.
I take a lot of credit for this gathering today, actually, because I introduced Susan and Renata. What can I say? You refuse, and then you discover that your house is haunted by the ghost of a leopard. My leopard. I dream of your desire, shock awake to it, throbbing in the air in the white fire, scorching the sky. So fierce, a lather of light to right by. Thunder of your need, rockets over the night, beats up winds to pummel the silky oak, throws off wanton rain in a shaggy shaking from the hidden den. I feel you here, so far across the oceans. Your scent is buried in my sleep. I rise naked, in the dark tremble. You blaze behind me, warm palms on shoulders, sweet breath at the nape. Turning, you take my cool wrist, laying it against your burning cheek, sliding your tongue up long inside my arm. Choose. Let me love you. You should not have come so far on such a night. You should not have called all this up, dynamitic and raging. Passion is spent. Thrill of it no longer seduces. And yet you tempt still. Your night wild yearning stirs the pink softness of fig flesh to fragile betrayal. Anyway, it's only a storm.
I want to read one that looks like this. Oh, wow. Because I like playing with how things look on the page as well as how they sound. And you might not be surprised to hear that the poem's called Breasts. Is it okay to write about breasts in this day and age after all that men have said and written and catalogued on the subject, or should I say object of breasts? I don't know, but I want to very much because I feel, wear, carry them. Does that make a difference? Kate thought so when she wrote that hers stared back as interested as a reporter. I love that line, the pert reply to the bossy male gaze. And as I sit here with my breasts blood firm as any other organ, I want to tell you about the way it feels to walk down my garden with a sun-fresh ripe pawpaw in hand and a flesh-pushing breast in the other. And how I saw a woman at a bus stop. And how hers hung at angles like the ears of a neglected dog, and how I wanted to stroke them alert and make her feel truly cherished, as you do after a good breast stroke. And then there's the CWA woman, hers make a sandstone rock shelf, shelter shelf in the land of cliffs. And the slender beach woman with fairy sandcastle breasts, with pale moon-pink shells on top. And that swimmer who has jelly mould firms peaked with pecans. Becca reads of fig-breasted dancing girls as her own figs figure dance girlish under the poet's shirt front. And Diana's wax and wane tend to full each month. And remember the sumptuous sun-dried raisins with plasticine tan at the Nice beach, where the silicons bounce light off fenders. And the walrus woman with her sand-full socks low slung, keeping her belly company. In contrast to the tight-braced geometry bank clerk. I bet she wears her bra to bed. Have you? Can you imagine it? Can you remember trainer bras on your soft, new shy shapes? Or the tiny sacks of the blue-haired breastfeeder we saw at the pub band that time? Big baby, little breast. Or the other way, tiny baby fronts huge ones with the milk just down and out and leaking all over the place. And do you remember when we played that game of netball? In the change room you said, I can squirt further than you, and the milk hits the other wall, slides down through the laughing full cream breasts, bouncing, laughing, moving, flicking off the world.